How to buy a house subject to for Airbnb and short-term rentals. Did you know that you could buy a house today with bad credit? Even if you have like the worst credit out there possible, you can still buy a house today with that bad credit. People do this every single day, and I'm about to show you a step-by-step process on how you could buy subject to houses even if you have bad credit by following these very simple steps. Remember, this is the channel that provides you an all-access pass to everything capital, cash flow, and credit by ensuring you have the right financial literacies for business success. Stop saying I'm in a side hustle and start saying I am open for business. Let's dive in. On average today, going the traditional route to purchase a piece of real estate today could cost you the closing cost of around $6,000, and it takes approximately 60 days to close that piece of real estate, that deal. All right. It requires decent credit, and you need to have a deposit in most cases, and oftentimes we're finding that those deposits fluctuate after the appraisal comes back low and the seller still wants full listing price for that piece of real estate. I'm about to share with you step by step on how you can buy a house even if you have bad credit. I'm going to give you my biggest secret on how my students today are merging their skills to find pieces of real estate, purchase them at low values, and then use them for the short-term rental model, Airbnb. And last, I'm going to give you my biggest tip on how you can buy a house today with as little as 3% down by being a problem solver. Hi everybody, I'm Edward Bilder, millionaire, real estate investor, entrepreneur, coach, engineer, dad, whichever you want to call me today. And I'm about to share with you a little trick called subject to when purchasing a piece of real estate. What exactly is subject to? Well, subject to is buying a piece of real estate where the current mortgage stays in place with the current seller, and you, the buyer, take over that debt subject to the new debt. In simple terms, it's a contract between you and the seller that you will maintain the remaining payments on that existing mortgage. The loan stays in the current seller's name. You take over the on-time payments. The deed transfers to the buyer subject to the debt. You could close on this process in a matter of 2 weeks and make immediate payments against the mortgage in situations where the seller needs to exit either quickly or needs some type of immediate relief. You could work out a deal as such subject to for nearly any real estate transaction that has an existing mortgage in place. This does not necessarily fit the model if you have a high equity property. This means that the owner either owns the property completely outright and there's no mortgage, or the balance of that mortgage is very low and the equity is very high. I'll share with you tips in another video on how to buy those pieces of real estate. See, subject to boils down to 3 unique scenarios, and we're going to start with scenario number 1, cash to loan. Essentially, a cash to loan is a process where you take over the balance of the remaining mortgage plus add cash. This is typically in a higher equity type of position or a higher appraisal value where, let's say, for example, the seller wants to sell the house for $200,000. They have a current mortgage balance of $150,000. So there is that balance of $50,000 that's remaining. You would need to come up with $50,000 cash in order to transact this particular deal. This can, of course, be negotiated to a lower sales price in which you would reduce the size of that $50,000. Now, I didn't use credit to buy this piece of real estate. I used a deposit and I was still able to close in 2 weeks' time. Now, if you don't have that $50,000 cash to buy that property, I've got a scenario for you, scenario 2, that'll help you solve this problem. Scenario 2 is called the carryback. See, a carryback is the exact same option as the cash to loan option. The seller's asking $200,000 for the price of that property. There's a balance of $150,000 on the current mortgage. We still need to figure out how we're going to get that additional $50,000 to pay for the property. The carryback option allows you to have a second contract with the current seller, the homeowner, and essentially do a owner finance option where that second contract allows you to negotiate payments of the $50,000. Now, depending on the motivation of that particular seller, this can range you anywhere from the full value, obviously, of that $50,000, all the way down to nothing. But in most cases, we see it go from nothing to about 20% of that $50,000, which is right around $10,000 for the transfer of that property. I didn't use any credit to get this done. I may or may not have used a deposit to get this done. I was still able to close in 2 weeks. And a little secret here, they could charge you interest on whatever it is that they're financing to you in that second contract. There are major tax benefits to this where you could defer your capital gains on that $50,000 out to 30 years, and you only pay capital gains on the interest that you're charging, and really double the amount of money that you're getting back. You could turn that $50,000 essentially into $100,000 if it's over 20 years. But don't worry, if this scenario is still not for you, there are other scenarios we're about to talk about. While I'm revealing all of my biggest secrets in this video, remember to hit the like button and become a subscriber for future content. And a little secret, I learned this quickly. If you want to grow wealth fast, bring others along with you, okay? So share this video with all of your friends and family. Let's get back to the video. Scenario number 3, wraparound. A wraparound is a mortgage that wraps around the existing current mortgage, okay? So it's very similar to that cash to loan where the seller is asking $200,000. The balance might be $150,000, or in this case, it could just be a straight $150,000 where there's no additional cash being requested. But in this scenario, the seller charges you a higher interest rate than what they are currently being charged on the current mortgage. So let's say that they're being charged on a $150,000 balance, a 5.5% interest rate. They're going to now charge you on whatever that sale price is, 9% interest rate. So in their current scenario, the 5.5 interest rate on $150,000, they are going to owe somebody else $97,000 is what they have to pay back to the bank for the total repayment of that interest. The seller then finances it to you, let's say for the $200,000 at 9% over 20 years. They're actually going to profit $131,000 because in the new interest model, the amount of money that you're repaying to them is $231,000. They peel off that $97,000, pay it back, and they have left over with, actually it's $134,000 if you really want to get down to the actual numbers. Now, depending on the motivation of the seller, this can be anywhere between 0 and 20% down for the price of that piece of real estate. And if the total price is $200,000, that could be as much as $40,000. Again, I didn't use credit to get this done. I may or may have not used a deposit. I can still close quickly in about 2 weeks' time. They can charge interest and really double the gains, and they get that tax benefit where they could defer it out to 30 years on the capital gains for that property. Pretty awesome scenario. Now here comes a big secret on how my students are getting this done by using 2 models at the same time. Bonus secret, straight subject to debt. What's that? You can literally buy the property with a credit card or as low as like 3% down by being a problem solver and just taking over the existing debt. Finding homeowners who are at high risk of foreclosure is exactly how my students are combining these 2 skills to come up with a new solution. They find subject to properties with high risk of foreclosure. They make the deal without any increase to the sale price. It is just for the straight payoff of the balance of that mortgage. And instead of selling it like you would in a wholesale deal, they hold that property for the cash flow and turn it into an Airbnb short-term rental. You get a much greater benefit by doing this because you could grab a property anywhere between $5,000 and $12,000. Now imagine you could grab a property for say $10,000. The average wholesaler would make a gain of around $30,000 on that deal, and of course have to pay taxes on that $30,000. The short-term renter through Airbnb could make anywhere between $30,000 and $60,000 annually in perpetuity or until the market conditions shift in that particular market. You save time here, you save money, you didn't need credit again, and you could practically use a credit card to grab those properties. Now, you have to be really good at negotiating because you have to find these properties that are at high risk of foreclosure, and you have to be able to negotiate with the current seller that you will be able to take over those payments and that they could avoid foreclosures and they could avoid bankruptcies and really some major negative events against their credit by simply transacting with you and you taking over the property. Now, Any scenario that you decide to enter, whether it's 1 through 3 or even the bonus scenario, you will be open to some risk under the subject to model. Okay, so don't just think you could jump into this and that you're not going to be open to any types of risk. There's risks with every piece of real estate transaction that you're doing. Okay, so if you need further help with this, of course, join my email list by going to the description and signing up. You can also get on that email list if you're out there looking to open an Airbnb today and you need my help. Join the email list found in the description. If you guys want to start today, you could get my crash course that's also found in the description, where you could get into the real estate game for as little as $50. Start cash flowing in 3 business days through Airbnb, earning an extra $5,000 to $10,000 each and every month. This process is really easy to scale, and you could grow to a multi-million-dollar business within a year's time. I teach you how to do this through the crash course. That crash course is on a mega sale right now. Grab it while the sale still lasts. If you want to be signed up for one-on-one coaching with me, find me through the description and sign up with me, and we can schedule something. I hope you guys all take these actions today and get out there and change your futures and change your lives. I will catch you all on the next one. Bye for now.